of information. Friday, Friday. FOIA.
FOIA Friday, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, everybody, to FOIA Friday. What do you think about my new song for FOIA Friday?
It doesn't really matter what I think. I'd like to hear what the chat thinks of it.
Hopefully the chat likes it.
Rate it out of a scale of 1 to 10. What do you rate that?
I'll tell you what, it was funny trying to make a song with AI about FOIA Friday. So I didn't even try to write one this time. I just wrote, what I wanted it to say. Because I just want to, like, for a few seconds, FOIA Friday kind of thing. I just wanted to go, FOIA Friday. It's kind of hard to get AI to say FOIA. And so I'm like spelling it in different ways and then it wants to say Friday. It wants to rhyme FOIA and Friday. Anyway, it presented new challenges, so I thought that was kind of funny. Neil Thompson said, "Just here for Crystal's music reactions." Yes.
All right. At least some people like my bitchiness. Okay.
Everyone loves it's part of your charm. I mean, that I'm Mulder, you're Scully.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, this is the importance of being yourself, because you'll find people who appreciate that. I used to try to pretend to be nice to people, and then they, get upset when my true colors show. So I'm just right off the bat, gonna be me.
Do you have? Let me ask you: have you ever had the situation where someone thought you were your sister?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you guys have different personalities, obviously, like all twins do, but I think noticeably different personalities. Do have people ever think that one is, I don't know, more forthcoming with their personality than the other, or do you think that one is more?
Yeah, Carly is definitely more outgoing than I am, for
more
sure,
outgoing.
And more friendly. Me, I'm a little bit colder, a little, yeah.
I think it's funny. I think it's really funny, the idea that someone might meet you and go, "Hey, how are you?" And you're like, I don't make myself.
Yeah.
I don't change myself depending on your energy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Carly. Geez, what did you do? What did I do? Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah. Why does Carly suddenly hate me? No, this is Crystal. She just hates everybody. So.
I don't think you hate everybody. I mean, you love animals. Drew Larson says likes it, but sounds like a game show. I was trying to make it sound like a secret agent movie show, like a secret, like a 70s, like a Mission Impossible, or one of those ones that when I was a kid, we didn't have so many TV stations, so I watched a lot of the reruns from the 70s and 80s of all those little spy movies, spy TV shows and stuff. That's what I thought it was like. But yeah, sorry, I didn't think it was a game show. Maybe it does sound kind of like a game show. I was trying to make it sound like a spy show, but I don't know. I try to do these things, try to make them entertaining for people. Of course, if you're tuning in, you already know that FOIA Friday is about trying to exercise our right to the freedom of information of our government, and not just our government, but the government's interaction with mega corporations that are busy probably doing shady stuff with animals and with your money. Right, Crystal?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Do you have any interesting FOIA things you want to discuss today?
Yes. I mean, my FOIA did come up. Well, my FOIA has not been returned yet. So the one I did, I think the last time we met for FOIA Friday, came back with nothing because just crickets, just the sound of crickets, which I find annoying. But I was talking with you about it. And what did you tell me about OSHA? Because what we did, if for everyone who didn't watch last time, I wanted to know about JBS, which is the largest meat manufacturing plant or animal protein manufacturing plant in the world, and they have been linked and have admitted to lots of crimes. And I thought, okay, well, it's particularly interesting to me because they gave $5 million to Donald Trump's inauguration campaign committee, and now all of a sudden they're going to be allowed on the New York Stock Exchange. It's almost identical to what happened, not identical, but very similar to what happened with Smithfield, um, because Smithfield, another foreign company that they pushed back on allowing this foreign company from China to control the pork in America. Americans pushed back on that. The government pushed back. Homeland Security pushed back. But then one day it was okay. Same thing just happened to JBS. It was kind of, they did not want them traded on the stock exchange. They were allowed to own companies here, but they were highly limited. And now, because of this $5 million and a few other things, JBS has had all of this. All of a sudden, everything's cool with JBS. They're a Brazilian company, and like I said, they've been fined in America. They've been convicted of crimes in Brazil, and I wanted to know maybe what OSHA, because they had a lot of fines about COVID, and that means that they have workplace problems. That means OSHA has investigated, and I wanted OSHA documentation about those things. But you told me, what were you saying about OSHA, that it probably never
Well,
gonna hear
can
from
you
them?
pull up what language you use to FOIA OSHA? Because I just think OSHA is getting bombarded with so many FOIAs. Probably they're not going to respond, maybe for years, and unless you have like a specific email address of somebody that you wanted to FOIA those communications from that person, particularly, like we're not going to hear back from OSHA for a long time. But if you want to
It's
pull
always
up,
going to be who I know, huh? It's always going
uh,
to be.
if you're like, I want communications from this person who works at OSHA, maybe you'll get a faster response. But yeah, I don't know. But I don't take that as authoritative. That's just my gut reaction. So
Yeah, I have my what do I have? I don't have the final thing that I sent to them, but I do have the thing that chat helped me with. ChatGPT helped me write. I'll go ahead and share that right now so you can see what it is. But it was, if it's, I don't have a specific person. It says requested records, FOIA request, JBS worker safety, line speeds, and COVID-19 incidents, 2017 to 2025. I want copies of the following records: inspection reports, citation complaints, internal memos, and correspondence. Records pertaining to implementation of effects of slaughter line speed increase or waivers. Documents, emails, and reports regarding COVID-19 outbreaks, employee illness rates, and worker deaths or complaints, and any whistleblower complaints or investigations involving JBS and OSHA actions. And I said from these six
and you didn't even
factories.
get back an acknowledgement or anything.
I did get back an acknowledgement. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got back acknowledgement, but I haven't gotten back anything.
Yeah, literally, it's going to take at least 6 months, if not a year, to get back anything. So we're just planting seeds for the future.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll get. Yeah, you're right. You reap what you sow. If you don't get, my estimate was 85 days for some reason. I don't know where I picked that up, but it was 85 days was in my mind. Maybe I saw that on the FOIA website or something. I'm not. I know I'm not making that number up because 85 is a weird one. But I thought that because sometimes when you do FOIAs, it'll show you like the average response time. And so I don't know. I hope I'd like to do one with Homeland Security, because Homeland Security did send me one about Smithfield before, just saying, "Oh, we don't have anything," which I think is BS. And I would like to challenge that, but it's like it was a while ago, and I don't really want to fight too. I would love to find out what happened with Smithfield when they, when we gave the Chinese control of 25% of all pork in America. I just wish people would say that. I wish that they just had that something salacious that would catch the public consciousness, because I think that that should be salacious enough. That should be kind of spectacular, right? 20 if you eat 4 slices of bacon, you gave 25% of that came from China. You know, I think that's something to be, especially now. Everyone's talking about China. It's in the news. We're always
Mhm.
talking about it. Like we could tariff the heck out of them. It doesn't matter, because the calls coming from inside the house, they own what Americans seem to love most, the flesh of baby pigs.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. This week I did this one FOIA of, since we were in Colorado and I spoke with somebody there,
Yeah.
a Colorado Open Records Act, Colorado State University, asking for these people who all have something to do with, actually, sorry, I realize I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share it here.
Yeah.
Should pull this up here. Share. And I actually haven't gotten a response back. I was really looking at Colorado State to see how you FOIA, and it was quite confusing. I saw this fax number, so I did fax it using fax 0. But I think I will call them and do this over the phone, or like say, it's kind of hard to like dictate over the phone,
Yeah.
this FOIA. It's better to read it, but they didn't really have an email address. So I was looking for any communications referencing Red Beast, High Quality Research, or Ridgeland. These are beagle facilities that have been implicated in animal welfare abuses and harms. So that's what I was working on, and I'll just keep hammering away at that.
So
And
tell me, it's a university. It's Colorado State University, and you want to know what exactly?
any communications referencing those beagle breeding
The
facilities.
beagle breeding. Got it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
When you say Colorado, I'm thinking, I'm on JBS. I've got my mind all freaky. Okay, cool. So we're gonna try to find out about what happened with the beagles.
And
in
I won't
Colorado.
go too much into the details of why I specifically asked for that. You can read about it in the media. There's lots of stories recently about Red Beast and high quality research in Colorado, so check that out. But that's not what this live stream is about. I also just did have a successful FOIA where I got back about 900 pages from the USDA Agriculture Marketing Service, and this was from a FOIA that I requested a long time ago, maybe over a year ago, about sodium nitrate. This is a method of killing pigs. And sodium nitrate, I'll remove that.
There we go.
We don't need that screen. That was just my notes.
Okay.
But it causes death by inducing methaglobinemia, which oxidizes the hemoglobin and reduces the oxygen transport ability in the blood. And this leads to progressive oxygen deprivation, and the animals die a slow and painful death over a period of 1 to 3 hours. So it's not great. They have labored breathing, lethargy, and confusion and anxiety, and all of these issues. And this is a method that they use to kill wild pigs. But they also wanted to use it if there's like an infectious disease outbreak in commercial pigs.
They were talking about using it for depopulation.
Yeah.
But they use it to kill wild pigs because it's how is this administered? Is this
it's a feed? They feed it to
put
them.
it in the feed. It's basically rat poison or pig poison in this case.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it oxidizes the hemoglobin, I'm just a lay person, doctor. I don't know exactly what that means when you oxidize hemoglobin. I mean, I know we have iron-rich blood and hemoglobin. I'm thinking rusting.
So that's
your
what
blood.
Carries the oxygen throughout your tissues. So it's like hypoxia.
So if you oxygenize my hemoglobin,
they can't carry like oxygen. They slowly die.
Okay.
So it is while manufacturers claim it's more humane than alternatives like 1080 poison or shooting, I don't see how it's more humane than shooting. There's not a whole
Yes.
lot of good welfare on this. So there's bait stations that they put out for the pigs to get, but of course there's non-target animals, wildlife, pets, birds that can come in contact with this, and not all pigs will eat a lethal dose on the first contact,
Yeah.
so they have like delayed suffering, and that's pretty gross.
It's super gross.
Yeah, you'll see. So I did this FOIA of the USDA Agriculture Marketing Service. Right now, the AVMA draft guidelines list it. I think they just added this method as a method of depopulation to this new draft of the guidelines, and it's a tier 3 for cattle, which tier 3 is the like.
It's like
We think this is better than just doing nothing, just letting the animals die of whatever infectious disease or emergency would kill them anyway. It's better to do this than just like let nature take its course. So tier 3 for cattle and tier 3 for pigs. And it says sodium nitrate is an intoxication is an acceptable method of humanely killing. It says, which I should have noted this in the draft guidelines in my comments. Reading this now, I'm like, I would have commented, this is not humanely killing feral swine. So I'll complain about that if that's still in the final document.
It's not humane. There's nothing humane about oxygenating someone's blood like that.
Yeah, that can be achieved within 3 hours of ingestion of a toxic dose. So you can humanely kill an animal over a course of 3 hours, according to this.
As the blood doesn't carry oxygen to their brains anymore and their organs, it's just organ shutdown. I just had to look up, like, because the only thing oxidation and oxidization, it's similar to the like actually rusting the iron in your blood so that it can no longer, so it causes it become a different type of what do you call it, methoglobin or something like that?
Methaglobinemia. Yeah.
Methaglobin. So yeah, the methaglobin is what it turns into this different thing, and that thing cannot carry oxygen anymore. Oh my God. I couldn't imagine. It just sounds so horrific.
Yeah, so I got these 900 pages, like
900
describing all of the studies and the communications about this. Here's some interesting things that were said in some of these FOIAs. And it also included, this FOIA was great because it included all of the different depopulation methods used for pigs, the pictures of the depopulation methods for their presentations and everything, and also the costs associated with each depopulation method. So just a treasure trove of information. So this particular part says, was initially projected to get support from various states with high populations of feral swine, but special interest groups have threatened to file lawsuits against the company, and so state registrations have stalled. The future of this product is currently unknown. This one study identified that white-tailed deer and raccoons were the most frequently observed non-target species that visited placebo hoggon, which is the bait stations in Texas. Previous studies identified raccoons as the primary non-target species, accessing predecessor prototypes of bait stations for feral swine.
Of course. Raccoons, why wouldn't they? If you put food out for one animal, you're going to get all these other animals. These animals that you're not trying to kill. This is the problem with glue traps and all sorts of, rat traps and all these other things that they do. You end up killing everybody else. You try to kill rats, you kill owls. It's horrible. So the future of this product is unknown, meaning that it's stuck in some kind of limbo. Like, we don't. Is it still?
No, I think this was just old information, and I think it'd be interesting to look. I don't think it's worth it. This is not part of our strategic plan. So I don't think I will be investigating sodium nitrate much more. But this was, a good information. I don't know what the current status is. If our wildlife working group wants to look into how much of this sodium nitrate bait is purchased and how frequently it's used, that might be interesting. If anybody's interested from our, wildlife working group and looking more into this, they can certainly do that.
But doctor, are they still talking about using it for depopulation of farmed animals?
Oh yeah. No, it made the draft of the guidelines for depopulation. So
I remember them talking about it in VMX, and it was like, oh, we hardly ever do that because it's so friggin' bad and all this. But like, if it's still on the books, they're still doing it.
Yeah, for sure. It's probably a thing. But in these FOIAs, you also come across some things that maybe aren't related to the specific FOIA that you got. And so there's lots of other information in there. Like I found this interesting. For the year end 2016 USDA data compiled by the United States Meat Export Federation indicates that U.S. pork exports accounted for 25.8% of total pork production and provided $50.20 per head value to pork producers. So all of the externalities associated with producing pork in the United States, 25.8% of our pork goes
overseas.
Yeah. Or I guess pork exports. I don't know if that's based on how much money we make from those pork exports or poundage or whatever. But 25.8%. I imagine that's monetary. So yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, right? If Smithfield owns, I don't know. And also what's that drug? I took a note that's called, that you said that the Chinese love it because we don't.
Ractopamine.
Ractopamine.
The Chinese do not love it. They don't want that, but we love it. We love
ractopamine.
Yeah, but the Chinese do not want that in their pigs. Yeah.
But when we have ractopamine-free pork, that is earmarked directly going to China, and when they don't buy it, we just end up killing pigs for nothing and throwing that in the garbage or doing something else. I mean, so much of this is intertwined, and so much of the money is coming from there. It would make perfect sense to me that it would be. I don't know. I don't know. I think that the reason why the Chinese can come in and just own pig production facilities is because they want to control the food supply. Of course they do. They want pork and they want to control our food. I mean, it's just good business sense at the end of the day. We spend so much time indoctrinating people into eating pork, the other white meat. Do you remember those ads? And it's just a built-in market. It's just they're printing money. And, and then we're subsidized, and we subsidize it. I mean, that's like the best business model ever. You come from a foreign country, come here, our taxpayers subsidize your risky business practices, and then you sell it and then you could take what you need. The ractopamine-free pork can go back to China. Crazy. I mean, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah. There was also some information about VSD too in this FOIA treasure trove. So there was a depopulation working group that was held October of 2019. This is well before COVID and everything. I think they were mainly at that time worried about African swine fever. And so they did a bunch of like tabletop exercises to like look at various depopulation methods that can be used. And here are some of their notes from that.
Okay.
They said VSD, ventilation shutdown, must be done quickly. A number of participants planned to use VSD. So they're already like, oh, this seems like the best option. I'm just going to do that, even though it's a method to be used in constrained circumstances only. They just planned to use it. Research needed to validate VSD plus in swine, it said. And And this one note taker says, I felt too many questions around VSD approved method ? Indemnification ? Our exercise arrived at ventilation shutdown for a mass depopulation on a finisher, 8,000 head. It was determined that was the fastest, most efficient way to euthanize the animals.
Which is
However,
not, we all know the
yeah.
VSD is not euthanized.
This
for
is
everyone.
not euthanasia, but
This is
they
not
frequently
euthanasia.
just, they yell at us when we don't use the proper terms.
Yes.
But they here willy-nilly use the words humane and euthanize just whenever it serves them.
And I'm sure if you were in the room and corrected them, that it would be a
you're being
yeah,
sensational.
they'd roll your
Like,
eyes at you. Yes. So let me be a little sensational, because you just like, have you ever, there's a great movie about the Wannsee conference. Have you ever heard of it? You
no,
just
I don't
reminded
know.
me.
What's the Wannsee conference?
So at some point, kind of later in the war, a bunch of Nazis got together. Hitler wasn't there. They all got together and they went to the Wannsee. It's like a beautiful part of Germany. It's got a big Wannsee's a big lake, and there's like resorts and stuff. And they sit at the resort, and there's this big conference room. They have conference rooms, ballrooms, and stuff, just like here. And they met all these top brass Nazis, and they decided then and there, they coined a new phrase, one that you've heard. It's called the final solution. They called that's where that word comes from. And there was a court reporter there, a stenographer, taking all the minutes, and we have those minutes. And they've turned that into a play and then a movie. But in that, not only did they talk about the final solution to the Jewish problem, is how they described it. Everyone always takes about they talked about the methods, and they argued about what would be the best, quickest, most efficient, and humane methods to carry out this atrocity. And one of the most chilling parts is when they decide on Cyclone B or carbon monoxide. They're arguing about that. And
Yeah.
one of the things is, one of the benefits is that the this gas over one other gas is that it turns the victims pink. It turns them pink, and one of the Nazis is arguing about how that's a positive.
How is it a positive?
I don't really understand why it's a positive. Probably some racist thing, but it's just a gross thing that's in there about these people in a conference room talking about these things and taking notes, and there's someone sitting there taking notes. It just sounds like the same thing. These people are sitting around.
Like, can they not see the parallels here?
Yes.
Like what are we doing here?
We're just killing millions. I mean, and is this the best way? Oh, I think this way is the best way. Maybe ventilation shutdown. Maybe we should just put them all in and turn the heat on. Maybe that's the best way.
And it's literally, it's so wild how there are people who, like, just without shame are willing to take the Nazi sides on so many things that are like direct parallels. I'm just thinking about the ICE protests here and people telling me that I should have just stayed at home and like just take the media's word for what's going on and listen to the police and obey the police and don't go any. I mean, I was obeying the police for sure, but don't even trouble the police by your presence of being on your streets in your community, is what people are saying. Like I shouldn't even be out of doors and walking around in my community and talking to my neighbors because I'm troubling the police by my presence being on the street. Like,
well, what was she wearing, officer? What was she wearing?
That's like, what did you do to get arrested? Like, literally following police orders is what I was doing, getting arrested. Anyway.
Yes, you were. And not to go, we're gonna be talking about this for a while, but like, totally. And it's not just the Nazi comparison that's like, oh, well, they're Nazis. It's I'm not actually calling these people in this VSD conversation Nazis. I'm not calling them Nazis. I'm just saying that their methods and their cold-heartedness about this, they're talking about killing millions of animals. And they're like, well, which is the best way to do that? Maybe we should, it's just like,
And we have to like bring it back to our own personal lives and experiences
Yeah.
of like we've all been there in similar situations in workplaces where where we should really be evaluating what is it that we're doing here? Like what has this come to where we're having this discussion and trying to figure out the best alternatives in this situation. And you think of activist groups of how to like activist groups when there's people voicing concerns and we're like, well, how are we going to ostracize these people who are voicing concerns about our male leaders who are romantically pursuing young subordinates? Oh, how can we character assassinate them and whatever, kick them out? How can we deny them funding? How can we deplatform them?
Yeah.
But I think of like me working in the shelter of like being in these meetings where we would decide which animals to kill. And it becomes this like you understand you're not safe to be the dissenting voice in those things, or you're on a jury and it's like you want to get out of there, you want to just come to a conclusion and like let's all have a consensus here. It's like the danger of like the consensus
Yes, and also
agreement, the need for a consensus on things. It's so disturbing.
and also choosing a third option that isn't on the menu, right? It's a lot of times it's like, should we kill this one or that one? It's like, well, we could kill nobody. Like
Yeah,
it's
well,
often that's
here
how
in this situation, you can't kill nobody. That's
Right.
not an option. And even among activists, we wouldn't say that that's an option.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like you've created this horrifying situation where in order to save yourself, you have to do this in your mind for the greater good, and not take into consideration the interests of the individuals who are affected by your decision.
100%.
Yeah,
And
it's wild.
Yes, and sometimes it's as if sometimes it does come up from on up high, right? It's like you're making me think of examples where I've had during COVID, and we're going to bring people back, and because there's this kind of insanity that's happening, the higher ups outside of where I worked decided to, well, it's a perfect chance to let's just not bring back the ones you always wanted to fire but never could. You could never find a reason to fire those people because they never did anything wrong, but we all know who we'd rather not have work here anymore. So why don't you make a list of people that you want to fire and just not bring back, because we're presented with this opportunity in this chaotic situation. And I remember going, that's not going to fly. No one's going to want to work. No one's going to want to come back to work. And they were saying people are going to be waiting in line to work. They're all going to be begging to work here. And of course, what happened, we sat down and made a list, and I felt dirty and horrible about it. And I was arguing with them, but it was like, all right, let's just make the list. And of course, everyone was brought back. It was all everyone still got their job back and no one wanted to come back. Everyone who wanted to come back got their job back. So it's almost like, when something horrible happens, like a COVID or like a 9/11 or a Pearl Harbor or something, and something really bad happens, there's always a couple creepy dudes going, there's opportunity here. Maybe we should, who can I screw over to make a buck? There's always someone there.
Of course, they view like the hog vets, the swine vets view us as taking advantage of this horrifying situation in order to advance our cause, get donations, and, advance our agenda of animal-free food production. But that's the weird thing about the narratives that we tell each other or tell ourselves, and we're on this team. If we if we can't get into the head of what the other side is thinking, we won't realize how we are falling prey to the exact same situation that they're in.
I think you're right, but I think that we're also a little bit more honest with ourselves. Like I'm perfectly willing to admit that in certain situations when something like that happens, I can go, well, maybe this is a chance to save some pigs. And I think that, sure, okay, guilty as charged. But like the agenda is to treat others with respect and dignity. I don't know that that's such a horrible agenda. We're pretty upfront with our agenda. And I guess
Yeah.
they're not with theirs, right? They will never just come saying, "Well, we're going to kill millions of animals to make money." They're
No, yeah.
feeding America, or they're doing whatever.
And that's the interesting thing about this 900 pages of documents is how they go into how they're going to message this to the public.
That's what I mean.
Which is very, very interesting. But I'll just like finish what they were talking about: ventilation shutdown. Let's see, they were
Develop a plan on how to
the
communicate
disposal
with.
required to handle and remove the carcasses from the building was a real challenge. In our case, the incident management team brought in additional manpower to help remove the carcasses from the building. It was like, I wonder did they do this for real? Like, I'm wondering, did they actually kill 8,000 pigs, or was this all a table talk exercise? I couldn't figure that out. It was clear this would have been much more difficult task had we been on a sow farm with stalls as opposed to a finisher. Yeah, like you have 600-pound pigs in gestation stalls. Oh my gosh, what a nightmare. States
But wait a second. But a sow farm, correct me if I'm wrong, because we were looking up numbers when we had on All Beings Considered. And by the way, everyone, like the video, please. When we were on All Beings Considered, we were talking with Susan Krebsbach, and we were talking about the age of pigs at slaughter age, and we were talking about sows. And most pigs are killed under 6 months, but most sows they get to these heavy weights and they're killed way later. Years sometimes they last.
yeah.
A couple years old sometimes, which is still nothing when an animal can live up to like 18 years. But still, like these animals are big animals, and they're a bit older. How many do we let get that old? I don't know. Like
Hundreds, thousands. If you've ever seen like the Smithfield, like hundreds and hundreds in these barns.
But those are just like breeding farms, right? They're the
sow farms. Yeah,
the sow farms, right? They're just forcing them, impregnating them, and having them in their Okay.
Yeah. And moving on, states are considering ventilation shutdown. I'm concerned about under what constraints. The likelihood of using ventilation shutdown as a primary euthanasia method is high. Primary euthanasia method is high. And there was a lot of discussion regarding building a room within the barn to euthanize in groups. Need to research novel methods for AVMA acceptance and feasibility, such as sodium nitrate, carbon monoxide. Here they're talking about carbon monoxide exhaust.
Yeah.
CO2.
That's how they did. They just let a generator do it, basically, and put a hose in. And
a gas engine. CO2 is often mentioned as a depopulation method, although CO2 may be difficult to obtain. So finding an alternative gas like nitrogen or argon should be investigated. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's
less cruel method. It seems to me the industry will be able to respond much quicker than state and federal in the first few days of an outbreak. If we are truly in stamping out mode, producer initiated VSD with indemnification, of course they needed bailouts, needs to be on the table rather than, and this is 2019, so they're already like trying to figure out how are we going to get paid for VSD rather than NC shooting them. Another state said captive bolt and MN trotted out. Oh, maybe North Carolina said shooting them. Another state said captive bolt, and Minnesota trotted out CO2 by semi-load. CO2 might be available 3 days after ordering. So yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I like this, like incorporate we care ethical principles and not lead with facts per se. And incorporate the mental health aspect of pork producers as they manage the disease.
So many documents talking about we care and just this messaging thing that they hammer home. Be consistent and confident in the messages that are conveyed, this is something like we as activists need to know. Like we need to have a plan for how we're messaging things. Take their lead in how they manipulate the narrative. develop and publish talking points that define and focus on public perception of the 3Ds. When the 3Ds, of course, are depopulation, disposal, and decontamination. And this is how we can communicate. Yeah.
I don't know how we're supposed to learn from that. If I'm on stage telling people to stop lying, maybe that'll be the future of the movement. How can I tell them to, like, hey, let's use these kind of
have what are the 3Ds of whatever we're going for?
what are the 3Ds of animal rights?
Yeah. Trustworthiness, transparency, and
I like it. Trustworthiness,
truthfulness,
transparency, and truthiness.
Truthfulness. Let's not be truthy.
It's truthiness, like a Colbert. Yeah, I mean,
3 Ts.
Trustworthy, transparent, and
honesty, humanity, and
tenacious.
And
honesty.
What did the 3 H's? The 4 H's.
4H would be funny.
And humor.
And
honesty,
humor.
Humanity, and humor. That's my 3
Hey,
H's.
I like those.
Yeah.
I like those. I had when I was like loyalty, honesty, and courage was LHC. That one can't exist without the other. But I like the 3 H's: honesty, humanity, and humor. I like that a lot. But see, what they're doing is, I mean, the fact that they'll say, like, be consistent and confident in the messages as they are that are conveyed, manage videos from other countries and also within the industry, incorporate We Care. I love the FAA relationships to address drone usage.
Yeah. I need to do more FOIAs about their mentions of drones and how they're squashing our right to bear drones.
A right to bear drones.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, it's our First Amendment, right? The air is owned by us. Why does the FAA get to tell us, if I have a little small drone, I'm allowed to use it in the air? What do you mean? You don't get to. It's ridiculous. The air is owned by all of us. That's why the FAA. God.
How do we pay for this? Advocation for money for agriculture. Of course, we need more money.
Right. And we need more taxpayer money in order to carry all these things out. Outreach to mixed practitioner surveillance and response disposal plan. Outreach through AVMA and state VMAs to target this audience. What do you think about that?
Yep. I'm going to drop our FOIA page in the chat. All of these documents are linked at the bottom of our FOIA page because we do this. We add more stuff to our FOIA page as we go, and all the new stuff is at the bottom. So if you want to read through these 900 pages of documents, there's a part 1 and a part 2, and screenshot some of the presentations with the gruesome pictures of animals being killed via various depopulation methods. There you go.
What's the thing with did you read the stuff towards the end of your notes about the capability of some producers' populations, for example, the Amish?
Yeah, I don't know what that, like, maybe, like, Trump really used the Amish to get elected in Pennsylvania, for instance. The Amish, have their own networks of communication. So maybe there's like somebody who's going to outreach to the Amish. This is how we talk about this. And the Amish, of course, have huge factory farms. And the Mennonites, of course, in North Dakota, South Dakota, some of the worst depopulations there were these various cults that raise animals for food production. So yeah, that you got to message to the cults and get the cults to I
guess that makes sense, right? They're just
get
like us.
Message to their people. Yeah, you got to.
We'll just keep
message
going
to all the networks.
Yeah, we just gotta keep
the social networks.
I thought that the Amish, are the Amish using sodium nitrate? I thought they were against using any kind of technology. Well, I guess it just doesn't.
Not when it comes to factory farming.
Not when it comes to factory. It's incredible. There's always a get out of jail free card when it comes to killing animals. It's wild.
Yeah. Are you kidding? I thought it would be interesting. Like, I'm sure there's slaughter trucks that come up to the Amish farms and load up the animals and.
For sure.
I'm sure they use the vaccines and all of this stuff. They're just like any other factory farm. And it's Amish made. Come on, please.
Yeah, it's Amish made. What kind of Amish? I mean, I don't think all Amish are the same. Same as Mennonites. You know, you go to a Mennonite village, and some of them are riding around on little steel wheeled buggies, but most of them are
It's
driving
all like
trucks. And
cosplay, honestly, because it's like that the cosplay of like, oh, I'm driving to town in my little thing, but then, they've got the contract with Tyson or
they've got a
Purdue or
Cargill. They've got a
whatever.
Cargill truck backing up
Cargill.
and dropping off all the feed, and they're feeding all these animals and loading them up onto trucks. It's so wild, man. We think
Yeah.
of Amish as this like quaint little thing that's out there, middle of nowhere, and doing. I wonder if the Indian reservations, because I've driven through a lot of Indian reservations and I don't see that type of stuff happening there, but it must be. I don't know. Do Indian reservations have
No,
these types of things?
the Indians have not, and the Native Americans, I should say, have not been able to capitalize on large scale animal agriculture. And I mean, the industry has thought of various ways to manipulate the Native Americans so that Cargill can extract some profits from them. Like they've given them grants to build their own slaughterhouses and stuff. For like they have various game animal slaughterhouses, but yeah, it's not. The Native Americans aren't doing it to the same scale as like the Amish and the Mennonites. Like you have European white people who are profiting from animal agriculture at a scale that's, unlike what the Native Americans are. Mostly just pawns in the whole Cargill system. They're not actually able to amass any sort of wealth from this at all.
Right, they're just kind of pushed around.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me. I wonder what it is. Could it be just culturally they're more uninterested in this mass? Because I mean, they're still consuming all the same stuff everybody else consumes.
Well, you have people who voluntarily came to the U.S. Across the ocean to sort of stake a claim for themselves, and were able to kill people to obtain land, and had guns and everything, and could kill the Native Americans, and who, slaughtered the buffalo, which were their food. And then you have the Native Americans that are left at the mercy of the colonizers,
right? But that's still
who have no capital.
No, and I don't not to minimize that at all, but a lot of that's kind of ancient history. We have the last. Well, we have it
still
is
happening.
I mean, like a lot of it's still happening. There's still a lot of marginalization and all that. Like I said, I don't want to minimize that, but since the 1960s, factory farms have made it so that you can, and just like the industry has made it so you can have some of this almost anywhere. You could have in Arizona or New Mexico or California, where you have large reservations, you could have big slaughterhouses. There's no reason why you couldn't, and you could have large plots of land where these animals are grazing and being force fed or whatever you need to get done.
Well, I mean, the cattle ranchers, they're all white people.
Yeah, I wonder
amassed the ability to purchase cattle, and who graze their cattle on government land and stuff. The people who, like, there are like the people from Laos and Vietnam who are exploited by Tyson to be contract farmers for Tyson, and who go bankrupt, trying to feed Tyson's chickens. And
right,
then,
but see, like the exploitation of the common farmer, right? Like let's say Tyson, right? Tyson's a really good example. Tyson goes to places I've talked to lots of people in Virginia. They had little plots of land that their parents left them or something like that, and then Tyson comes along and says, "Hey, let's build a chicken." A longhouse, they called them. Let's build a longhouse over by on your land, and we'll take care of everything. We'll sell you the feed, we'll sell you the chickens, we'll drop off, we'll pick up, whatever. And they sign up and they do it, and they're completely vertically integrated now, and they think they're going to make a bunch of money. It turns out they now belong to.
They have a mortgage to pay, and then
they belong to Tyson now. And if
they go bankrupt when Tyson's chickens all get sick, and then
or they pick them up too early, because Tyson does that too. Tyson decides when to pick them up early. But they're still only getting paid by the pound. And so if all this type of stuff happens, right? Totally. They get screwed. Why wouldn't they do that to the Indian population? Why wouldn't they do that to the indigenous? They they have a long history of screwing people over and screwing over Indians. Why have they only done that to? It just seems
I
so.
think that they have to a certain point. Like I don't have any evidence that they haven't,
Yeah.
but I don't think Native Americans have really gotten into the chicken farming thing. Maybe it's just not something they wanted to do, but they
That's
have.
what I mean. Either they don't want to, or Tyson hasn't put any effort into it. Right.
Yeah.
I wonder which it is, and I wonder why. I'd love to know more about that. God, I wish
I
I was
mean,
in.
yeah,
When
I
I was in
think
South Dakota, I wish I had that question. I was surrounded by more Indian people I've ever seen in my life, and everywhere I went, there were
yeah.
people of Native Americans, and I didn't ask them any question. I didn't have any except for Christy Nome stuff. But like, I wish I had that question then. If
Yeah.
anybody lives anywhere
Anyway.
near a reservation, or you know people who are part of that community, would you ask them that question? How come large scale farming doesn't seem to be something that they're doing? I wonder. Maybe the tribe's leaders are like, no, we're not letting them in because they poison the rivers and streams.
Yeah, I don't know. Or just culturally, like
Right?
they
Maybe.
want to take advantage of people who are like indoctrinated into gaining money. And
Yeah.
here as you have people from Asian countries coming over here trying to, you know, develop a life and been indoctrinated into the capitalist system, and they exploit people with, that sort of thing. And I don't think Native Americans are totally uh, have the thousands of years of capitalism normalized onto them the way that other cultures do. So I don't know. Maybe we're spitballing here, and probably I would
We're
love to
asking a
have
question, so it could
maybe
add to
somebody
the.
who is of who
Maybe we should.
studied this can tell us why Europeans haven't exploited Native Americans in the
Quite
factory
this
farming
way. Yeah.
space.
Well,
Like,
I wonder
what?
why they've been either left out or left out in either way, right? Left out of both positive and negatives when it comes to these things, mostly negatives. I bet you there's a FOIA we can write. Maybe the is
I
it
you
the
know I think that this is not in alignment with our strategic plan,
okay.
and we're going to continue to write FOIAs that are in alignment with our strategic plan and not get sidetracked and derailed by side quests such as this. But if anybody
Okay.
is interested in it in our FOIA team, please tell us more about that.
Maybe someone on the
Moving on.
FOIA team wants to know more. There
Maybe
seems to be
somebody, if they do, but okay, moving on. We've got a few minutes left, and I just wanted to
Mhm.
talk about what FOIAs I plan to file this week. We amassed a good list of people from the pork board from this 900 pages of FOIA. So this is great. This will help streamline and hopefully get faster FOIA results, since we have a list of all of the pork board people. So instead of just asking the USDA Agriculture Marketing Service for anybody from the pork board who has written about this thing, I can now have specific email addresses, and that will hopefully
I
get a
like that.
faster result. I've also got some people from the USDA AMS and USDA APHIS that I've amassed from all of my FOIAs. So here is the FOIA request that I'm going to do. I am looking for all communications and attachments from June 1st, 2025 to present, referencing ICE raids and or FBI and or immigration sent to or from this list of pork board people. I'm also going to write all communications and attachments from June 1st, 2025 to present, referencing ICE raids and or FBI and or immigration sent to or from my list of USDA APHIS email addresses that I've amassed. And so I look forward to getting those results, and hopefully we'll get them a little bit faster than we usually get from the USDA AMS, because I have specific email addresses.
I like that angle with the with ICE, because there's got to be people talking about it. I'd love to know what the pork board
Yeah.
has to say about ICE. I'd love to hear that. Maybe they got some juicy things they've said. Maybe they've used the NAZI word, and wouldn't it be great if we had someone on the pork board calling ICE what they has the Gestapo stopped by your farm lately?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Did you see that? That Trump said that he wants to have loopholes for farms. Did you see that? He said it in a.
I saw that. Yeah. Yeah. And Gavin Newsom took that as a win. And I'm like, oh no, we have a specific ways to exploit
Illegal.
undocumented people now for the benefit of corporations, which we know always was
Always
Trump's goal.
was. But I don't get why it's always been the goal of this whole system, isn't it? To keep people in this illegal status so that they're always on their guard.
Well, you
They're
know
never-
why Trump is targeting ICE raids in blue areas
Right.
like Los Angeles. He's going to use this. It's very strategic, using this narrative of like all the red state people, all the conservatives don't like immigrants.
Mhm.
But we're going to affect the economies of the blue states via our ICE raids. We're going
Mhm.
to make sure that our producers are fine. Our red state people are fine. It's very
Well,
good.
not just red
very
states. Weird
manipulative.
because like California is the #1 agricultural state,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
yet we're taking it. We're taking it up the butt, but because these guys want to give it to us so hard, it's upsetting. And Omaha just had their biggest. Well, it was a meat packers. Meat packer were raided by ICE. It was the largest in Omaha, in all of Nebraska. It was an Omaha meat packer, and the workers were actually on top of the ICE cars, hitting the cars, and it was. I think it's quite shocking that they're doing it. So it's not just blue states. They're in Omaha, raiding meat
Yeah.
packers, slaughterhouses.
That's
mean-
interesting. I'm wondering. I sent out some messages asking how Manning Beef is doing, and I might take a trip there and scope out what's going on in Manning Beef, if they've been affected.
Yeah. South Omaha ICE raid, detainees taken to Nebraska detention center. They got 70 people. I mean, I don't know how many people are working at these slaughterhouses, but we're talking 70 people in any business. I don't care. 70 people at a Walmart. It's like an empty Walmart. I mean, what are you going to do? How many people are you talking about? Well, the one I want to do is, I'm going to do it right now. I'm doing a FOIA request in the same vein of JBS records about from January 1st, 2017 in relation to JBSSA and their holdings and Pilgrim's Pride about allegations of financial fraud, bribery, foreign corrupt practices, failure to disclose materials, risk to investors, and violations of SEC disclosures, because they've been accused of all of those, and they've been found guilty of those in Brazil, and SEC is who's in charge of bringing them into allowing them to be on NYSE. So there's got to be emails about this. So I'm really hoping so anyway, that they have expressed concerns about their business practices of the largest slaughterhouse network in the world.
Yeah. And on a final note, we were discussing FOIAing the LAPD about my arrest, getting my mugshots, etc. But I spoke to a lawyer who said in body cam footage of our arrest, I spoke to an attorney who is worked heavily in this area, who thinks that we would not have much luck getting that information. So if anybody wants, we can try, but I don't think it'll be very fruitful. And is it worth our time or not? I don't know. But I've got some more attorneys I need to talk to too. I'm going to talk to the ACLU and another attorney in Oakland and see how that goes.
What if it were something real precise, like you just want the camera from your bus, the bus that you were on?
I don't know how I identify what bus I was on.
Well, they would know from your citation number.
Okay.
They would know what bus you arrived on. They would know
Yeah,
that.
maybe.
I mean, if they took your picture getting on and off the bus, that they track all that, what bus you were on and all that. And I bet you, and I know that there's a camera on that bus. That would be kind of interesting, seeing, something as simple as that of you getting on and off the bus. I mean, it would be great just to use that footage for content, honestly. But
Yeah.
because I know
It's
I
so
know
funny.
you.
The person who sat behind me on the bus found me on social media and we connected. So that was fun.
One more follower. Did you tell
Yeah.
her about FOIA Friday?
No, I did not. So
This is why we do FOIA Friday, to hold these people accountable, and I hope that everyone else keeps holding truth to power and holding power accountable. If any of you guys are going out and protesting this weekend, please be careful. Stay safe. Crystal is an anomaly. She's able to stay safe. People care about Crystal. They like her.
not a lot of people like me, but I guess,
You were able to have a harrowing experience and come out unscathed.
I highly recommend, like 10 out of 10, getting arrested during an international news story where all the focus is on it. Good. Like, and I think I have a feeling my charges will be dropped. So I'm not that worried. So yeah, if you can get arrested for doing absolutely nothing, for just doing your civic duty of engaging with your community and walking down your streets and talking to people, by all means do it. And I'm not inciting civil unrest by saying that. And I'm so like, I've seen all sorts of messaging like, oh, if you are if you're even the man who is passing out gas masks being charged with like citing civil unrest.
Not even gas masks. They were just face shields. He's getting charged by the FBI for inciting, for a conspiracy to.
Wow, it's wild times.
Yeah, he's got a conspiracy charge. We all know about conspiracy charges. Those are the ones that carry even for animal rights activists, the conspiracy charge carries a little bit more weight. I don't think that person's going to get convicted. That's so crazy to me. I'm looking at that whatever. Anyone who's going out, please be safe. I'm going to be speaking tomorrow at the Anaheim No Kings protest. I hope that anybody who's in the area can come check me out. I'll be speaking there at around 5, and I'll be in Aliso Viejo in the morning for the No Kings stuff. I'm going to 2 tomorrow. I want to be part of it.
Yeah, I don't know about the No King. I don't know if I want to. I might be doing something else, some more direct actiony things, like maybe offering jail support or something. I think I got to pay back, since the jail support that I got. I should offer my services to jail support, giving people rides home from the jail.
We definitely need people who have jail support. Yeah, I mean, that's really important, or else you're just out in the street. Having gone through it with no jail support, yeah, that's pretty important. That's awesome. You should do that.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
I'll
bye,
talk
everybody.
to you guys later.
Thank you, everybody.
See you on Sunday, I guess.
You guess? What do you mean you guess? I thought that's a 100% thing.
Yeah. Well,
if you're not arrested.
Maybe I'll do Sunday from the street. How about that? Because I don't want to waste a Sunday in LA while there's protests going down. So maybe I'll join you live in front of the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Maybe you could join us live at 10, and then in the last hour you can come and show us from live. You try to stream live. That'd be great. Yeah. I mean, that'd be fun. We're doing 10 a.m. Nothing's going on in the streets just then.
Well, yeah, it's 10 a.m.'s a good crew out the LA Detention Center or the 77th Street Community Police Station. I could be outside there.
That would be good. I mean, I'm going to be going out on Sunday. We're doing kind of like an unplugged, no speakers march in Irvine on Sunday. It's way just more chill. It's but it's still getting out. I'm still going to get out on Sunday, but it starts at 2 p.m. in Irvine.
Okay.
But yeah. All right. Let's listen to the FOIA Friday song that you love so much. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next week on FOIA Friday. Bye, Crystal.
Friday.
That's me.
It's not bad.
It's not bad, right? Friday. That's it, and it's short. All right, bye, everybody.